Guys, welcome to the channel. This is going to be basically like a follow-up video for the future of the White Forest deck and what you guys are going to be doing. Conveniently, I have Yumi here. We're going to be discussing what's going to be the best non-engine X format. God, I actually fucking big oopsie. I forgot to put my post Justice Hunter deck profile here in Dueling Book, so I can flash you guys the deck profile. We could talk about that some other time or in another video. If you guys want to check out the one that I had planned, it's very similar, but the one that I have ready is an actual like close to 40 list. So I'll get you guys that brewed when Justice Hunter is about to come out. By the way, it's like a month, so I'll get you guys that ready because we don't use any cards from the Justice Hunter set. I'm just gonna have that deck ready like 2 weeks before. But I digress, guys. So we're gonna be discussing the best non-engine moving forward. Because listen, if you guys haven't seen my old video, the deck does not change whatsoever. That's literally a plus for us. The bad side is we're gonna have to be playing against literally more absurd shit, and it's absurd shit. And I mean, in the form of turn 0 decks. Guys, if you have Tearlaments PTS, just close the video right now. I am sorry to be the one to do this to you. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't want to be the person to tell you have to play against turn 0 combos again this format, next format, which is really bad. I think people rather get FTK'd that you not let them play Yu-Gi-Oh on your first turn. That's kind of cringe, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I literally watch my opponent Zigzaramai combo me, and I'm like, well, I didn't draw board. I didn't draw Droll and Lockbird. I can't even spell that card because I'm a White Force player. It's like little kryptonite to me. But yeah, I'm gonna be showing you like the interactions, like specifically. I'm not gonna be giving you too much in-depth information on how the new decks work. I'm gonna give you a more or less the scenarios you're gonna be looking at and the top three cards. So watch at the end of the video because I'm gonna put my beautiful board here so you guys can see it. I want to give you guys like a play-by-play thought process on why these are gonna be the best non-engines. And this is a little bit of how do I say? This is a little bit of inspiration from OCG for what they're running, guys. The OCG deck list literally have 2 to 3 cards differences. I think it's almost set on stone what they're going to be running. The hand traps are going to change a bit, as you can see, because they have maxi. If you guys look at the Yumi leads from the OCG, they're going to be different from this because they do have double Call by the Grave, they do have double Talents, and a lot of other stuff, and do have maxi. I don't think the extra deck changes anything. Do they have any extra shit in the extra deck? Oh, the Draco Tail does. But I still use the OCG cards here, so it doesn't matter unless they don't come in Justice Hunters and they come on some different sets. So Yumi is gonna be one of the decks you're gonna be seeing. It does not play turn 0, by the way, for spoiler alert, but it's going to be one of the worst decks to go against because of its ability to special summon Herald on the Origin Light on your turn, not on your turn, but against you. Herald is like crazy against White Forest because if you try to synchro off, like all the shit goes to the graveyard. You're playing against like baby macro, but this card's like really good. Your opponent's this card is not once per turn, by the way. I don't think necessarily this deck does it. I have to check. I have to double check. I don't think they can resolve this twice on your turn. Doesn't matter. Cause the way White Forest works, this deck does have a very good end board piece against it because it tries to pick apart your summons with interactions, but at the same time they're very hard to interact with, right? Because how they work is that they shuffle themselves back, bro. It's like 2025 Sprite, if that makes sense. I can't believe it. If you guys didn't like dealing with Sprite cards, this is like gonna be the worst thing ever. And this deck is kind of cringe because it kind of picks out. It kind of gives you like almost like an epiphany on why like ones are really cancerous, but for some reason Konami still printing out like ones like they don't really give a fuck. They didn't learn from what was the deck? It was actually like a toy deck too. Prank Kids. So, bro, they did not learn from Prank Kids that like ones are cancerous. If dude, I promise you, if K9 did not exist, this deck would literally get the same the prank kids treatment because how easy it is to like get this engine going. Because literally, all the fucking monsters are like 1-card starters. But again, this deck doesn't play turn 0, but one of the 3 non-engine cards that we're going to be running just this literally destroys the end board of this deck. And I'm just going to give you a small spoiler alert. It's super poly, which is really good against this deck. So I'm not going to go into much more detail about this deck, but it's one of the most represented decks in the next format. I'm going to touch K9 last, so I'm going to do Draco Tail next. But this shit does run K9. This is a pure version, but I'm going to be fucking honest. If you can resolve Finalizing and you can resolve Izuna on your opponent's turn, they are literally cooked. I promise you. If they're playing like Malice and they're resolving Lucius and Izuna on your turn, especially 5 mana and I think it's Pan. Yeah, it's Pan. If you have 5 mana and Pan, you literally FTK your opponent. Like if you're playing Malice, because you're gonna put 3 monsters on your board, and you're gonna be on your La La Land thinking you're about to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and they just literally, pop 3 on your turn. Yeah, this is not healthy whatsoever. But again, the good thing about this is that us White Forest players do run non-engine in the form of. Dude, I don't want to give you a spoiler. Watch the video. We run really good cards that actually combat people trying to play in your turn, which is really good because these cards search really powerful cards. I don't know. I'm not giving you spoilers because I'm probably gonna put them on the fucking how do I say, the portrait of the vid, or what do you want to call it? Yeah, but again, this deck actually just plays on your turn too. Listen, I don't hate people who will play Draco Tail. This deck is fun. It fusion summons is like playing Branded. Listen, when have you ever, even when Branded locks you, when have you ever gotten pissed at a Branded player for locking you? Never in my entire life. But when someone summons Detonator too, we're fighting, bro. If it's 2025, you're dropping Detonator on me. Them fighting words. But yeah, this is gonna be Draco Tail. This deck is not gonna be just a represented. This is Yumi, by the way. Yumi's like better represented, but just so you guys know, you have to watch out for this because TCE players love fusioning more than OCE players for some reason. So yeah, this deck is gonna be really good. We'll have to see how Mitsurugi plays into the format to see how bad it like deters K9, because if the way Mitsurugi works is that it's already popping your opponent's board when it plays. So if your opponent tries to even K9 you when you're resolving the Mitsurugi ritual, like, well, what are they doing? You know what I mean? Like, you understand? Like, we have to see how this deck plays out in the TCU. And last but not least, we have K9 Vanquish Soul. Sorry that I have to show you guys this. Which, by the way, you see how cringe this deck is? Imagine you're already the cringe lord of cringe, and you decide to double down on putting a one-up shifter so people hate you more. But yeah, this is what you guys are going to be looking at, which is K9 special summon itself. Get Lupus into the graveyard. Lupus, the way it triggers is that if your opponent tries to trigger an effect from their hand or their graveyard, it special summon itself, and it can try to quick synchro into Nash Knight, which is just a quick effect that has one of the best forms of removal because it literally takes your monster and puts it into the fucking Nether Realm. Yeah, Nether Realm really into. But bro, if you want to know where the Nether Realm is literally built. I don't want to say fucking XYZ is giving it back shots, but that's basically better do. If you put a monster below an XYZ, it's literally like the true banish zone. It's like one of the worst forms of removal. So you can't do anything with it. It's not even like Snake Eyes putting your shit on your back roll. You can pay for shit for cost or some interactions like that. Like this card's removal is like crazy. And then we have Jai Long. I don't know what is it with Yu-Gi-Oh having Long on their names. Like big pause for them. But the release of Holy Sue in Duelist Advance. Sorry if I'm fucking butchering it. But this card is also cringe. It has a fucking during your main phase review on Vanquish monster from your hand. Special summon this card. Cringe. Yeah. Guys, playing against Church Zero is really cringe. So what this card does essentially is a special summon itself. Quick effect. You can activate one of these effects. You gotta reveal one Earth and one Dark. Bro. These guys are already Earth. like K9s are already Earth and Dark, so they literally help you trigger like the most broken effect of the Holy Zeus effect, which is literally take control of one of your opponent's lowest attack monsters during the offense. So you essentially have to like play against Holy Zeus, taking your shit, right? And then I think you can trigger the fire and dark one to special summon the season, if I'm not mistaken too. I think that's but they always try to trick your monster, because I think this one is a little bit harder to resolve, if I'm not mistaken, which is fire and dark. It's still possible because the rest of your fire monsters fucking vanquish those little monsters like fire. But I digress. These monsters are just gonna be playing on your fucking turn. So yeah, the past decks next format. So if you're gonna see some like, if you're gonna see like, how do I say it? If you're going to see like a trend, is that, by the way, K9 is going to be adopted as basically a hand trap next format. So it's like Gamma essentially. So if you have enough space to put K9 in your deck, you just do it. It's literally just slap triple Izuna and a Lupus with a Nash Knight and what's that? Bunch's Comb and a Ripper in your extra deck. It's literally one of the freest hand traps you can play. I don't think we're playing this though, because the levels are off and the attributes are kind of off. I haven't seen that shit yet. But anyways, this is what we're gonna be playing against with, and like I said, the best non-engines help you play against this very, very nicely, because if your opponent tries to play on your turn, we have cards that literally help you against that. Not to say that we're still gonna struggle against this, but we're still gonna be able. We're going to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh much better than some other decks. That's why much of the OCG deck list still have White Forest in their tier list, because White Forest still has a good, very, very, one of the best going first end pieces. So White Forest's I want to say weakness is that it's just really hard to break your opponent's board, because we don't have like, I don't want to say like infinite extenders like some other decks do. But yeah, let's go into our board so you guys can see how the non-engine we're going to be running is going to help you combat this deck. So let's go. Okay guys, and welcome back. So as you see that I have in my hand, it's going to be the best non-engine that you could be possibly running in White Forest during next format, and I'm going to give you one of the best scenarios on why these three are the best. I mean, we're already playing these cards anyways in our deck because of how well fitted they are to the strategy, but how things are going to be moving next format with turn 0 plays, one of them is going to be more fitted in the format than the other. I'm going to give you a slight spoiler if you guys haven't checked my old video, or not my old video, but if you haven't seen my deck profile post Justice Hunters, go check it out. I highly suggest it, because it's going to give you much more insight with the deck building and why Super Poly just fits in, particularly because of how the OCG works right now. It's going to change a little because in TCG, obviously, we have Mitsurugi, but you're going to see that Super Poly is going to have the most bang for your buck, basically. But to give you guys basic examples, so I can give you like the best situation accordingly to each of these cards, I'm just going to normal summon Sylvie. Bro, you guys understand that when you guys are playing White Forest, if you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh while playing White Forest, you understand that one of these bodies is going to hit your board in the form of Sylvie, in this form of Black Witch, in the form of LZ, the new normal summon Sylvie. The order doesn't really change. This is just for example purposes, because the types and attributes of things don't really change for the things you're going to be playing against with. So you're going to normal summon Sylvie, you're going to get Tails. At this point, when you have Tails in your hand, I don't think your opponent has any incentive to pop this, unless they think like, well, he can't resolve this Tails if he pops. But knowing that you're going against an opponent that plays Yu-Gi-Oh, he's not going to try to do that. He's always going to try for you to resolve the extender, so you are in a position where you're going to have to synchro off to get your engine going. So for all intents and purposes, I'm going to give the example when you have two monsters on the board. So you Sylvie Tails get LZ as a special summon here. And you're going to see that in this situation, I'm just going to pick up random cards. I don't own any K9 cards. Obviously, that shit isn't released yet. But for all intents and purposes of proxying, so you guys how see this works, I'm just going to pick two cards here. G. It just need 2 different looking cards. Oh, okay, this is perfect. You got Old Lurie and Old Lurie and New Lurie. Which, by the way, this is supposed to be a cartoon art of Lurie. Lurie already looks like a cartoon. That's fucking funny. So for all the this is the cat girl for the K9. I forgot her name. By the way, they're gonna probably butcher the name for the TCG version, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna trigger the K9's ability to special summon herself. You just need 2 cards in your opponent just needs to control 2 cards in their hand. The Lupus triggers a little bit differently. So this is gonna dump Lupus as soon as I normal summon the Sylvie. And this LZ is in my hand, right? Guys, a Lupus's effective trigger is that your opponent has to trigger an effect in their hand and in the graveyard. And if you guys don't understand how easy that is, imagine Malice, Mitsurugi, all these cards just essentially do this, like, by default. I didn't think they understood this Lupus was gonna trigger so easily. I think that's why this engine is way too busted and way too splashy. But I think they didn't analyze that card in 2025 Yu-Gi-Oh just means Gamma. I don't think they understood that this fucking character translated into Gamma plus Driver, and they're not even bricks. So yeah, as soon as I want to trigger my LZ Azamina, my opponent is going to trigger the Lupus to special summon itself, which is a very, very bad spot because I'm going to special summon this LZ Azamina. Again, this is against K9. I'm going to give you other situations in a second. But my opponent has the K9 girl and the Lupus, and yeah, he can activate the effect right here to try to XYZ, but this is when you come in Super Poly, right? And they're both Earth. It's Beast Warrior and Beast, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's Warrior and Beast Warrior. So you can essentially just fuse them off into Mud Dragon. And the reason why this is so good is if your opponent tries to play with their Vanquish Soul engine, the big one doesn't target, but essentially you have another layer of protection on top of already just getting rid of the main problem, which is going to be of the thing we're getting rid of your board, right? So yeah, that super poly is so good. With Thrust, if you're in that situation where you're here, your opponent's resolves the Nash Knight and sends your, I guess your LZ Azamina is more important because right, they send the LZ Azamina into the graveyard. You can thrust them. This is why I wanted to do this live because I want to show you guys the multiple trust targets you can pick from your deck, which is Filia Diabell. I think it's one of the best ones. I do not run Terraforming in my deck, but you can actually search Terraforming too, but Filia Diabell is just way better. But essentially you can pick apart from your deck whatever you need, which is the best thing you can do. So you can go like Talents to look at your opponent's hand, or just take the National Knight if you really need to link off, if you understand. It's the better play. Like, and you can get Foolish Burial Goods too, which will translate, I guess, essentially is basically the same thing, but you can get Foolish Burial Goods if you want to do the entire combo, because it's basically the same exact thing. The only thing is that this doesn't play into Droll. So you can, like, get goods, dump Curse, get Philia. Philia searches Diabell, and then... Or you don't even need... Philia searches Diabell, and if you have another spell in your hand, you can basically shotgun her off your hand, and then play from there. So that's how good Thrusts are. And like I said, if you just throw off Foolish Burial, you can just circumvent just searching the card outright with Thrust. But yeah, these cards are absolutely really good against the K9 engine, because just for the fact that Philia Diabell and Thrust just requires monsters on the field for them to essentially have their broken part of their effect triggered. In this situation, the Sylvie stays in hand, so you can't actually summon from the deck outright. But against Draco, which we're gonna see in a second, I'm gonna show you really quick how the interaction is gonna go. It actually just works full combo. So yeah, this actually helps you try to combat the turn 0 play that K9 is gonna be doing. The Vanquish Soul is basically Holy Sue, and if they have the correct targets in their hand, they're eventually just gonna search the big guy, and they're gonna try to pop your non-target, one of their monsters non-target, which is essentially the same thing. If they drop both things, let's say they drop both things, depending on the order that they do, you can super poly and get the the Mud Dragging out, which is a little bit worse because the Vanquish Soul engine has non-targeting pop. But let's say they did do the Vanquish Soul combo first, and then you end up doing the Mud Dragon, then you're much better protected against the K9 part of the engine. So if they have both, it's gonna be really up steep. But again, this is already one card. If you have like multiple of these to combat those cards, that's why you want to run all three. And then I'm gonna give you that conclusion in a second. But let's try out how this interacts with the Draco Tail Burn combo. So it's the same thing. We're gonna have to normal summon the Sylvie, get tails. Since the Draco interaction just outright basically has the ability to almost destroy 3 cards on your board, your opponent's always gonna try to let you commit as much as possible. So we're gonna tell some of this Elzada Samina. Of course, they're never gonna let you synchro, because if they let you synchro, you get deception, and it turns out crazy. So they're always gonna try to interrupt you here. So the way the Draco Tail monster works, they're essentially gonna discard the girl that lets you fusion. They just need a Draco Tail in their hand to resolve this. So let's just say this is just this card. For all intents and purposes, they're gonna fusion some of the Draco Tail and the random card into the Draco Tail fusion. And then the Draco Tail fusion, what it does is that it's going to bounce cards from your opponent's field. I don't even think it's your opponent. I think it's just general, which is broken. It bounces cards from the field and your graveyard equal to the amount of materials used to fusion summon it. So it's essentially going to bounce this back to your hand, which isn't as bad because you still keep this in your hand. The problem is your white forwards have no way to extend these out of your hand. But where Super Poly shines here is that you have a little bit more of leeway of what you can do, and you can do this in the other situation too. But you can Super Poly both your targets here, and this is good if let's say your opponent does draw the Azamina, not the Azamina, sorry, does draw the Draco Tail that pops too. So that's basically like 3 pops. You can Super Poly your board into, and by the way, since you're gonna see how these cards resolve naturally, so he's gonna discard the fusion one, then he's gonna send the targets into the graveyard, then he's gonna fusion summon, and they're gonna chain link each other. So when you activate your Super Poly, you're going to know which fusion summon is more fitting to you. So you're gonna fusion summon both these, or you can fusion summon both these off with Super Poly into Murcielago, and from here on you could get Wanted, you could get Deception. It really depends on your hand, but it's so you know that this card isn't much as a detriment to your play, because you're gonna get to like follow up here, or you could just end up summoning Chorozo, which Chorozo is a tuner. So let's say you drew Elzada Samina, you can still play, even though these cards are in your hand, which is it's not the worst, because when let's say for example you Chimera your opponent on your opponent's turn with the quick play, you still have a lot of fun in your hand. So having these cards in your hand isn't the worst part. But the Draco Tail isn't going to be that meta defining, but you have to watch out because a lot of people are going to play that deck, especially in the first months of the deck's release. It's not as hot in the OCG, but I'm pretty sure it's going to see high representation. People like fucking fusion summon decks. That's why I'm playing White Forest with hello. I'm probably going to pick up that deck myself. I'm not going to be completely honest. But yeah, and for the last interaction, guys, a lot of decks are just going to main deck K9. So that's going to be your, literally going to be your, the thing you're going to have to worry about the most. But I'm going to do the Yumi. I'm not going to, I could put up a Herald here, but I'm just going to put random cards. It doesn't really matter. The Yumi board always does Herald, plus the Yumi, the Synchro level 2 that bounces. So it has like two interruptions. The problem is these interruptions are layered. But luckily for you, if you do have Super Poly, Garura, I'm pretty sure in most situations, I'm just starting to think of the most general situations, you can always just Mud Dragon their field out. And if they double Yummy Synchro Cat, you could just Garura them, which is way better, because then you can go into Kianza Angel and just outright win against Yumi. They literally have, if I'm not mistaken, they only have 1 out for that. Well, they if they run the Sky Striker, like a heavier Sky Striker engine, they do end up running Widow Anchor. Sorry, I was gonna say it in Spanish because I literally play Yu-Gi-Oh in Spanish at locals. But yeah, they have a way better out to Chaos Angel. So, but I'm just saying, like, interactions, if you're having this Garura on board, it's like, you can special summon Chaos Angel from this. And this gives you another, especially against Yumi, this gives you more protection. Like, targeting effects are going to be very predominant next format. So, it's like really good against Yumi. So, you're going to see the Super Poly is going to be the greatest target. But the problem is, after Super Poly resolves, depending on how your opponent is playing, this is turn 0, by the way. It's crazy that you have to do this, considering your turn 0. But, yeah, like, these cards are, I'm going to say Super Poly is the better one. Because it just outright breaks the board of all decks. And this card is really good against Mitsurugi, which is going to be in the format. It's not an OCG. So yeah, Super Poly is going to be the predominant non-engine. Is going to be really good. Followed by Thrust, because if your opponent is trying to be playing turn 0 against you, and you have a card that literally searches any card in your deck, this card is going to be really good. And then Foolish Burial Goods. The only problem about Thrust is that you have to put your opponent in a situation when he wants to play against your board. So you're going to have to play like the higher count of 1-card starters, where your opponent is like, okay, I have to trigger these cards so my opponent doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! I can't just play into. So basically, like it was when talents was S3, like your opponent has to be incentivized to like interact with your board. I'm gonna be honest, K9 does not play a lot of hand traps. In the non-engine hand traps, they play like their own hand traps. Of course, they don't need like other hand traps. So if they understand they don't need to interact with your board, and they'll just outright break your board on their turn. These cards might seem weaker, but this card is just always good. And yeah, like if this card's resolved, it's just like bonkers. So for the next format, I'm going to obviously be playing 3 Super Poly, and the amount of these cards vary. Black Hole's Laugh is not going to be as predominant. It really depends how Raizio acts, but it's not going to be like, okay, you can just straight out call Mitsurugi, the Mitsurugi Ritual, or call Raizio, or call Red Ransom. So I guess I was actually thinking of just running straight out 3 Super Poly, 3 Black Hole's Laugh, and just going second White Forest, but that doesn't translate to reality. And OCG knows this. OCG knows this, that White Forest's best strength is actually going first, because they just outright OTK your opponent. So basically, they just use these non-engine or crack boards, and they're good for going first. That's where they're really good. So in my opinion, I think I'm gonna be playing 3, 2, and 1 in that order, because these just get you. This just gets you this outright out of your deck if you do need it. And yeah, of course, I'm still gonna be playing around 45 cards. That's never fucking gonna change. Just gonna give you a small example of the ratios of these going into the next format. So yeah, guys, I hope you liked the video. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you haven't. Shout out to the Yu-Gi-Oh boys. Shout out to the White Forest boys. Because listen, you guys are goated, right? You guys aren't playing cringe shit like Raizio or Mitsurugi. Shout out to you guys for having a brain. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, this deck is complicated. And how do I realize this deck is complicated? I'm pretty sure, and you guys know this, when you're breaking a board with White Forest, one card that gets interrupted differently is gonna mean that you have to play your combo entirely differently. So I'm pretty sure all the White Forest players know, or like the people who have like a lot of experience with White Forest knows that the combos you could do like to like min-max your shit are still like very complicated to this day. But anyways, again, thanks for watching the video, guys. Keep having a good weekend. Guys, get ready for the next format too. Love you guys, and peace.